Beautiful Angelo Sisco. Thank you for coming back on Movement Fix podcast.
Ryan DeBell, it is with great pleasure that I am here, and the fact that you even say beautiful Angelo Sisco only makes it a better experience. I love it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. That was the name of the Zoom meeting, the beautiful Angelo Sisco, and the first ever Movement Fix podcast video as we go and put these on YouTube also. So thank you for being part of that experiment.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
So, strange time in history right now. You own a gym.
I do.
I would love to hear what that experience has been like for you and how you're managing both yourself and, you have people who work there, clients who probably are wanting to still work out. And I don't know if they're, trying, like how you're dealing with the memberships and all that. So I want to just give the floor to you here to what's it like in the world of a gym owner. And I know that you know a lot of gym owners too, from the work that you've done in a variety of business consulting aspects too.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, what a great question. So for us right now, currently, Illinois, when we are recording this, is still under lockdown. And so what we're offering as far as our service is we've gone completely virtual. And Monday through Saturday at 10 a.m., we have a live workout of the day. And then we have a recording, and we put that in the Facebook group. And then Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m., we have a decompression of the day, which is a combination of mindset stuff, mobility and decompression, and then also a breathing component. We really understood that for a lot of our clients, I told my clients this very early on is, this is what it's like to be an athlete in season. And our training, and especially in the very beginning of this lockdown stuff, I said our training will be geared towards you as if you were in season. And what we meant by that is that when you play a sport, in off season, you find intensity or stress in your physical training, in the work that you're doing to prepare for your sport. Even in the volume and level of practice, you are doing more work on preparing. Yet when you are in a season, the stress is already out there. And then your training should be geared towards, how can I be ready for game day? It's a completely different type of training and look on life. Yet if you've studied sports performance, this is how you work. A football player is not doing two-a-days on Thursday if they're playing Sunday, right? Where the intensity is being monitored. So one of the things that we did right away is, in mid-March, we had this happen. And I explained to the coaches and everyone there that this is what it is. People are going to be getting stressed from all different types of worlds. And the other thing is our routines are majorly interrupted, which is a whole nother level of stress, right? And so I said, at least for the first month, we are going to treat our clients as if they were in season, and the workouts will reflect an in-season type of environment. Lower volume, lower intensity. We're here to make you feel good. I told people sometimes your training has to be like this, and it can't always be a slap in the face. And this is especially the time you want that, because the world is slapping you in the face, because you may not know what you're doing for work. You might have to start educating your children. Your sleep patterns are going to be whatever it is. But it's like basically game days out there. So inside of this training ecosystem, we're going to fade the environment. We're not going to stay in the same environment and think that that's what's really going to be best for you and your body. And so when we went virtual, that's why we added a decompression. And that was also the very beginning of doing this. And at first, we're learning a new tool, a new craft, right? Creating the Facebook group and doing all this stuff. Yet here's the thing that I told the team, and we did this. I was so proud of us. So for our 2020 meeting, we all came together before this even started. This was in December or November of 2019, and reconvened over who we were, what we did, and why we did it. And as soon as you know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, the wheres and the hows are interchangeable pieces. And if they are not interchangeable pieces for you, it's because more than likely you just got too attached to the comfort of the way you were doing them, and or you stopped growing in different ways to think of ways that you could be doing and delivering your service. And for many gym owners, the ones that I've spoken to and ones that had struggles, it's more than likely is because they forgot about the first three things that I said: who, what, and why, and they were too focused on where and how.
Like the where and how are just a function of the who, what, why.
Yes, and they're always the only reason we think doing CrossFit in a box is cool is because that is what you learned what it was in 2008 and 2009, 2010. If Greg went up and said, guys, this is the virtual workout of the future, and we were all doing this virtual the whole time, like, do you get what I'm saying? We were stuck in this, we were stuck in there. And people, and I don't want to generalize here, but this is very important for me, is the more and more I work with people, the more and more I speak with people, the more and more the people are obsessed with the where's in the house and really stuck on those. They are the people that are usually really stuck in all of their life and are not really moving forward, or really stuck in the technicalities. And when you get stuck in the technicalities, and I really learned this from relationship work with my wife, you wind up fighting and arguing and nitpicking over like stuff that really doesn't matter. You should be obsessed with those first three things: who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. All the other stuff, if you're really like romantic about it, it's unnecessary. And so for us, that was the first thing. When we had a team meeting after we did lockdown, I reread the whole meeting, the 2019 meeting, to everyone, and go, where did we write that this has to be inside of these walls and has to be this way? And none of us did. None of us was like who we were. No. What do we sell? Coaching, accountability, community. No one said that we sold, inside of four walls. Who we were courageous, open, adapting. Great. Right? And so it really helped us move quickly and be flexible. That was number one. The who, focusing on the who, what, why, and the where and the hows are not even, the truth is they're not even up to you. They should present themselves and you ride them. To me, that's like the waves.
Yeah, like whichever way the current is flowing, that's sort of the where and the how. And right now it's
Yes.
like, look, are we like, we are trying to, as from what I'm hearing from you and what makes sense for, people like gyms in general, right? We're trying to help people be healthy mentally, physically. Like you said, you need accountability, you need coaching, community. Those are really important factors that help people sustain the physical like challenges of always training and keeping going, right?
Yes.
Versus, and it's like, okay, things change. Does that mean we're not doing that?
Right.
It just looks different.
Right. And then the second thing is you have to learn how to do it virtually. and you stink at it at first, and you send the wrong Zoom link, and you forget to hit record, and you didn't, and that's a part of learning this and relearning this that we all had, we did. Make sure the sound is right, make sure the views are right. Yeah, we had to learn new things. And at the very beginning of learning something new, is it really hard and difficult? Yeah. Now you put yourself in the shoes of everyone that you're impatient with that comes to your gym to begin with. Right? And so we learned a new model. And so we're doing this. And I have this on my chalkboard right here behind me. It says virtual OCF is here to stay because it's the only business they can't take away. You'd be a fool after this is all said and done to not have learned a virtual model and set up a little something at least that could stay active throughout this experience. One, because they can't take it away, right? Number two, we do not understand the magnitude of what this is all going to be moving forward with changes. And so I've had quite a few members reach out and go, when are you reopening and all this stuff? And this is what I tell them to do, even if it's virtual or on a call or whatever. I said, do me a favor. Do you have your mask on? Do you have one of those face masks? They go, yeah. I go, put the phone down for me and do 10 burpees as fast as possible with that mask on. And they do it and they're freaked out. I go, right. Now, what if the government mandates that you have to wear that mask? Now, let's get even crazier. How are you going to take advice from me, coaching cues from me, if you can't even see my mouth because I have to wear a mask? I go, so let's not be worried about the thinking that we are going back. We're going to a new normal and we don't even know what that is. So number two, we're flexible all the time. We're going to take our time here and we're going to do this. The virtual model is where we're going. Going back isn't an option. So we're super proud of our virtual model. We made a new logo and said we're virtual OCF. Why would I be in a place of doing that? And this is what I encourage a lot of gym owners to say, because I got a lot of text messages about this. If you are in a place where you think your only option or where your focus is going back, you're in a place of holding, you are not living true nature and true life. Nothing ever holds in nature. It's moving and evolving at all periods of time. And so if you are not proud of your virtual offering, it's because you are more than likely in a state of being back there too. No wonder you're not getting the buy-in that you want.
Yeah, like if you're trying to hold on to what you were doing and you're resisting that change, you can't be like, okay, we're going digital, let's figure out how to do it really well, because and it goes back to what you're saying, those three things, right? And because wouldn't that be why they're so stuck on the how and the where that they're so attached to that they can't move forward into a new format of helping people train and stay healthy, because they're not focused on why are we doing this? Who are we? What's the whole point?
Yep.
What does it matter if it's in the gym? Like, you have to be able to adapt quickly.
Yep.
I would bet another challenge too is, and I would bet this varies substantially on people's the status of their business in general, is, if you own a business, you could be very scared. And so you're not even thinking about how do I adapt my business. You're in survival mode. Whereas you are completely, based on what I'm hearing, it's not even your fault. Like, you're not even giving that a second. It's just like, we're doing this and this is what it looks like. Or is that a struggle? Is that something you intentionally do, or have you built that into your mindset for so long?
I have a very interesting mechanism is when I step into anything, what I look to do is identify the poison. And as long as I know, so what I say is the poison is the worst case scenario. Okay. All right. So worst case scenario, O'Hare CrossFit closes. Okay, I take a step back and go, man, I'm at a party a year from now talking with a bunch of people, and I said, oh man, I went bankrupt during COVID-19. You think a bunch of people are going to walk away and go, oh, you're the one guy. You're the one man. I knew it. I can't believe it. I found you.
Yeah.
You're the one
Kick
loser.
kick this loser out.
Right? Like, let's be serious here. Okay,
Yeah.
you think you're the one person? We're all going through it. And so if you think you're the only one, that to me is a complete relief. Like, this is not an Angelo Sisco problem. This isn't an O'Hare CrossFit problem. This is a global thing. So take a deep breath. And the truth is, that's baby narcissism if you just can't. Take a deep breath and realize that we are all in this together. No one wants to suffer any more than they have to yet. Let's be realistic here. We live in the greatest country in the world to go bankrupt.
Yeah. And,
right?
it's like once things do transition out of this like such an ambiguous future, right? That nobody knows what it looks like. It's like, imagine if you were in a fight and you got knocked out, just choose to get back up and do it and keep going. I mean, it's not like you only have one shot.
Yep. There's so much to be had here, even thinking from like a short-term business sense. Okay, let's be real here. Even if you're, think about running a virtual program, your costs are 60 to 65% less than probably running of your gym. Get some pardons on your rent, obviously change your situation with your staff or whatever have you. And I'm willing to bet you are at the same margins or possibly better just with your virtual model and a third of the membership anyways.
Yeah, people still want to work out and they still
right,
want to
like,
be, it's not like the community that they're used to, seeing at the gym. Those people still want that. They still want that camaraderie. They still want to feel like connected, especially being in isolation, right? We all crave that connection more than ever. I mean, that's really an opportunity to create that for your members.
1,000%. And this is, this is really honest. Any member that has put their account on hold or has canceled and not been able to evolve with the new service, like, don't get me wrong, if you were brand new, I get it, you probably weren't bought in. But for a lot of the people that are like using this as an excuse to not continue their fitness journey or anything like that, an excuse was always going to be found for those that want to find it. It just is.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's what we told everyone, like, to not get caught up in all this stuff. You want to get hold, you want to cancel, you go ahead. We're not going to sit here and try to beg you to stay with us and all this stuff, because the truth of the matter is you will find another one along the way. Like, when people are like, I really miss working out. Well, if you really missed it, or, when people are like, oh, I really want to work out, but I don't have a Facebook. Well, you really want to work out? Get a Facebook. I'm not saying you need 6,000 friends, and I got news for you. You probably wouldn't have more than 26 anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, get over yourself. Like, that's our look at this. And it's been so healthy for the team that has had to deal with a bunch of emails and deal with stuff like that. It changes your mindset from defense to offense. We want to serve the people that want what's out here right now. If you want it to be the past, this is not the gym for you, because we will be constantly evolving and doing that. It's called evolution. It's not just me being a jerk or overly confident or not understanding the demo. No, it's just, why would we waste our energy with people that are not ready to evolve with us and all this stuff? Like, hey, we'll catch you later when things are back to another place. Yet, being concerned about that to me takes you away from actually learning what a virtual model is and how great it really can be, right? Like
Yeah.
your energy spent having that 30-minute conversation with someone for what? For their $150 is keeping you away from learning your virtual model so well that you could already be confident enough to sell it and take intros from people. Because I got news for you. There's a bunch of people at home that wish that they had coaching, accountability, and a community, especially the people that would go to a Globo gym and now they have nothing. They don't even know what to do because they're used to just walking around and playing on the machine or whatever. And I said, why are we going to be worried about this one person, begging this one person to be with us, when we could be learning a model that we love and that we're very proud of in the all time, not just in the short term, and get better at? And we could start taking new people. So we just set up a 15-minute Zoom intro, and we're taking intros for virtual OCF. Why wouldn't we stay? For me, the game is let's stay on offense.
Right. Don't play to not lose.
Right. I'm here to cherry pick and dunk every point.
Yeah, it is. It really is a shift in mindset that you have to look inside of yourself and see, am I doing my business to try to not lose, or am I really trying to find ways to win and grow and develop? And that also goes really hand in hand with, are you seeing challenges as bad things happening to you and problems? Or are you
Yep.
seeing them in a way of, okay, well, where's the opportunity here? Because with virtual, the opportunity is bigger because suddenly there's no geographic constraint. Like if you're a gym in a physical location, you're not going to have people from Florida, commuting to O'Hare CrossFit. But if you build a great online community, you can have people from all over the world. I mean, and to think that that's not going to stick around after, when people are like, hey, you know what? I get a lot of the things that I want online. I get the workout I want. I have the community and the coaching. Like, there's a big part of that I don't think will go away. And I think we already see that in all of the online coaching that occurred before this. Now, I think so many people are being introduced to, hey, there's a huge market here.
Humongous.
Are you willing to shift? Changing. Yeah. There's going to be incredible communities built, groups. There's going to be a lot of innovative ways that people find to train. And I think the community aspect is really interesting, right? Like, we have the internet. There's so much that can be done. It's so powerful. It's such an amazing tool to use. And I think too, like, when this started, so many people, at least from my vantage point, felt like that things need to be done for free online. And I don't know, that's not true. Like, you should still be running a business if you're providing a valuable service for people.
No, one quick thing I wanted to revert back to, really quick. Mm-hmm. I mentioned earlier, like, I think about the poison. Mm-hmm. I come to terms with the poison, and then I do my very best to short my downside, right? So it's not like I have not been filling out forms for grants, right? It's not like I have not done all of those things. Yes, for me in my brain, it's coming to terms with the poison, and then everything is an upside. So when we got our first, $10,000 grant, we were like, this is free lunch. All right, beautiful, guys, put them in, and then versus, do we get that? We need that, right? And I really learned this from my dad. My dad, it's so kooky how in these times of chaos, you really see everyone, and then you see how you show up and why you show up a certain way. So my dad went to jail for 11 years. And if you speak to this man about going to jail, he said, from the first day that I committed to this life, I knew that in the fine print, I could go to jail, that I could get arrested and go to jail, and I was fine with that. And that's what I signed. And it's like a lot of people forget that you need to know what this fine print is and not ignore it. Because if it comes up and you ignored it, it's your fault because you weren't prepared for it, right? Like it wasn't just, all those things. And for me, it's like, man, okay, so the worst case, we shut down the gym. Okay. Then, all right, every week we have meetings about the SBA and this one and this one and this one grant and this stuff. And we're working with, where we do all those things. Yet it's all bonuses now versus it being, how am I trying to hold this up? Oh, you come to terms with the worst part. You dance with the devil and you go, oh, I know your steps. I'm fine dancing with you. And then all of a sudden, everything is gratitude and a much better mindset versus staying shallow and going deep. I prefer to go deep and then knowing that going shallow is relatively easy.
Gosh, so many things in that I want to touch on. It's funny about the, well, not funny, but it's interesting about the possibility of going to jail, right? Yeah. I've thought about that for myself. I was like, I wonder if there's ever a point in my life where I'm going to go to jail. But I think if I do, I'll look at it as a Ryan's jail phase of life. And what did he learn from it? Not that I plan on it, but it's like, things could happen that you don't know for whatever reason. Maybe who knows? But also, like, are you willing and are you okay with, well, I remember listening to Elon Musk talk once about how he tried to eat for $1 a day and he realized, oh, I can eat for $1 a day. I can risk everything. It's fine.
Totally cool.
Like right now, I think we may be misidentifying, or we could look at this in a certain way where we're misidentifying what's happening, or there's parts of what's happening that we aren't seeing it for what it is. Because I believe that you don't know what you're doing until afterwards, and you look back and you're like, oh, that's what that was. So we think, perhaps, right? This is obviously an opinion here. We think, oh, this is like all this hard stuff. And we'll look back and be like, oh, I was growing. Those were growing pains and I was being challenged. That's what it was. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was showing me that I'm tougher than I thought, that I could take more, that I didn't need as much as I thought. Yes. Growing pains. A lot of this is growing pains.
Yeah, it's, I told someone the other day, I said, hey, people have asked me this and they go, well, what's it like to take a psychedelic? What's it feel like? And honestly, this experience is a 3-month slow drip psychedelic.
Where you question everything.
Everything. You face your deepest fears. You feel your reaction to you when you actually see your deepest fears. You're able to actually work through them in real time because the world is slower on a pause. Mm-hmm. And if you take a psychedelic, this happens in a 4-hour period. Or if you're alive in 2020 and you're a business owner and a human being, or a human being, this is happening over a 3-month period in a slow drip. Yeah. This is all an audition from Mother Nature to really see, so you could see yourself and how you're showing up.
Mm-hmm. And there's periods where you look in the mirror and you're like, a human being is such a strange thing.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, you feel that deep fear to like the deepest part of yourself where it's like, you have to confront.
I get the chills.
You're confronting death.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Wow. What's it? So what is it like with your employees? I mean, how has that been?
Sure, absolutely. So we have been able to keep our full-time employees on. Our part-time coaches, we had two, and this was not a substantial part of their income to begin with. So we've been really fortunate as far as that goes. We've been able to keep our full-time coaching staff on and doing that. There's two other people besides me, and we do the virtual classes. We do all the admin support. Every Saturday we have some sort of we call it like a community event. Last Saturday we had an art party. So there's you know how you could go drink wine and paint a picture with your
Yeah.
friends.
Hmm.
Good. We did that virtually. This Sunday's Mother's Day, so we're going to have a Mother's Day yoga, and we all get together, and there's a yoga teacher that she's going to teach yoga, and everyone's welcome to do that. And we've been keeping it together. And the full-time people I've kept on. I know some people have chosen to, put their people on unemployment or anything like that. For me, I knew that in order for us to keep this together, the full-time people, one, I wanted them to feel secure, right? As the top tier of this area, and also I believe in my life is as a leader right now, your job is to be stable, is to show stability, is to bring stability, because any great leader, in my opinion, understands that it's not about having a style, it's about fading what you're given. So if I came in here and class and everyone was super strict, I would probably be more chaotic and goofy and tell everyone to lighten up. If I walked into class or in a time when more people were chaotic and uncertain and not present with me, I am more stable. And so right now, I am presenting as much stability as I possibly can. Do I have my moments that I am human? Absolutely. This isn't about bringing perfection. This is just understanding more and more about what your role really is. And honestly, what it's always has been.
This whole thing makes those things way more obvious. Like
Yeah.
it's a stress test to the whole system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to me, this has been, man, I want to cry when I say this. I've never been more confident in who I am and my abilities during this time. I am so grateful for this time. I find this time to be so beautiful. I feel like I never realized like all these reps I've done of like work, of like journaling and, sitting around and breathing and even contemplating and doing all this stuff. You do all these reps and you're doing them during times of peace and non-chaotic times. And, even if you're a dedicated soldier like me, you want to go, man, do I really need to breathe today or anything like that? And then that bigger part of you goes, yes, doing the reps is what you're about. And, even despite, even people like, yeah, you're doing this breathing all the time for what? Why would you ever need to be doing this? And then yet at the same time, it's just like now when you get to these parts, knowing that you've been sharpening your sword only allows you to be more confident. And the people that are the most turbulent in the leadership, I imagine it's because they really didn't have a practice where they were sharpening their sword to be prepared for this, or allowing a lot of things to go to the wayside despite that this is part of the game too, right? If you were just focused on your business and not yourself, as far as development of yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, like honing that in, finding a routine and finding space for all those things, you are probably more off than anything else. For me, it's keep doing my practices, because my practices allow me a place where I'm able to exchange a lot of the energies that I need to actually show up more stable during these times. And then also too allows me time to really connect and keep that sword as sharp as it must be needed so I could be my very best for everyone, you know? And so for me, I am super proud of these times because it has only allowed me to stress test all of those times where you're sitting in a room by yourself doing 30 minutes of some crazy breathing routine. Like, you know what I mean? It's you do feel it and you feel the outcome of it, yet you do not really see how precious it all really was and the true return on investment until there are times like this. And I'm not wishing times like this, yet being prepared has never been more important. And I imagine for a lot of people, being prepared right now is where they are the most weakest. They were unprepared for this time because money can't hide from you. Your Instagram followers, your all that stuff, facade stuff, all that top level stuff you cannot hide behind right now. All we have is the depth. And I said this to my friend. I go, if you ain't afraid of death and you ain't afraid to be poor, this is a party galore. Like, right?
Those are the two things you have to come to terms with. Those are the two devils that you need to dance with, as you so eloquently put it.
Yep. That's it. As long as you could handle those and the people that are like immediately there to support you are able to handle this, these are very beautiful times because it takes these ugly times to find the most beauty. Like, you know, in such a small way. For example, not having to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and have my alarm clock be my 7-month-old or 8-month-old son has been an absolute joy. That this little boy makes some noise in his crib, and his mother puts him in between us and our bed. And what wakes me up is my son slapping my face and grabbing me and pulling me around and crawling around. What a beautiful joy. And to think that I would have missed that because I would have thought opening up and doing the 5:15 a.m. class, or I had to do it. It's not take 50,000 from me. Take 6 months of revenue from me. You got to be kidding me. Look how beautiful that is. And this boy will never remember it, but I do. And I get to cherish that. And for a lot of men who have been bogged down with their work or my favorite, thank you so much for taking away sports. Take that March Madness bracket that you would have stared at and throw it in the garbage, because now you actually got to play with your kids. Now you actually got to build a relationship with your partner. Now you got to see that, man, I don't really have any hobbies that add to my life. I'm usually staring at a TV on Sunday for 4 hours watching football. Like, good for you.
It shows the emptiness that existed in so many of our lives, right? Of like, do we have things outside of what we do to make money to essentially, you know, buy food and clothing and shelter and all these things?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's great. These are beautiful times. The other thing that I've noticed too is for most people that have these busy days or they're always working all the time, I'm willing to bet that they've also realized is they're spending less money now more than ever, because they are not looking for a distraction or a subconscious way to justify the fact that they've been stiffing their family and they don't have a hobby to begin with. And what I mean by that is how many people are always looking online for like the shoes or the thing to buy or all that, or where they're going out on the weekend, all that. That's all been taken from you. So now you spend money on only the things that you really care about and the things that really matter to begin with. And I'm willing to bet you're not spending as much money. So if you're not spending so much money, why would you need to work so much? And why would you need to go back to the other way if you've already seen that there's plenty of great things that you could do with your time, like be with your family and your friends, take care of yourself a little bit more, go for walks instead of going to a bar to get drunk, right? Make your own food. Yes, go to the store and make your own food. There's time if you don't kid yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of them. It's probably my favorite part about this is I'll go to Whole Foods for an hour and look at what's fresh today and ask the fish person what fish came in today fresh. My wife thinks I'm crazy, yet I come home with these beautiful fresh vegetables that we would have never had before. We would even never even thought of having before because we're concerned with filling up a Rubbermaid container for 6 days. Like
Mm.
you're connected to your food because food is medicine. We're like, ooh, we want pizza. Hey, let's try it together. We'll watch some YouTube videos, and then all of a sudden we're making pizzas. Or, oh, we want burgers and fries. Let's figure this out. I'll go buy some ground beef. Like these are beautiful times to connect and really slow down. And a lot of that other stuff, you've been spending money to distract yourself.
And we obviously everybody's situation is different, but for so many people, they have so much time, whereas time was one of the scarcest things. Like there was a shift from having maybe more money and no time, and now the time is, you got a lot of it. Maybe the money's less. When you look around at what's going on, other than the hardest psychological part that is in many ways self-created is the uncertainty, right? The
Yes.
uncertainty of the future and the fear that it's going to be bad is the most tormenting part. If you have not developed mental tools and ways of dealing with that, if you can manage that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can really objectively look around, are things really that bad? Now, for some people, it definitely could be bad, and
Sure.
I empathize with that. But are the circumstances around you really that bad, or is it a psychological fear of the unknown future that you're so uncomfortable with that you're in your mind when you're trying to go to sleep, worried, what's going to happen, does that exist up here, or does it exist in actuality? That's the battle. That is a
For sure.
major battle. It's interesting, and I'm sure that you've read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Sure. Yes. Yes. Yes.
um, I've read that book like 5 times in the last 5 years. It's one of my favorite books. But a big point of what he talks about is with the Great Depression and the fear of the future being bad was such a driver, such a psychological component of that. So then when this happened, and you look at any news station, especially the United States news, um, which is just a travesty, the fear that is being put out to get clicks to websites, to get ad spend from page views, which is obviously there's a financial driver to that. Like there are so many news stories and headlines, they're not objective. They are titled in a certain way. They probably split test them to make people afraid. So they have to click it and read it. Then there's ads, and they get paid for those ads. And that is a torment to this thing inside. We got to protect that and understand that the fear that's being created for a financial gain by so many privately owned news companies is creating a lot of the pain.
Agreed. You want to know something funny about this?
Yes, I do.
Not that I am 1,000% into conspiracy theorists, but here is my point of view.
Okay.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you were on trial for murder
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
the prosecution got to stand up and give their whole statement to the jury, and then all the witnesses for the prosecution got to go up there and do their thing for the jury, and the defendant didn't get to say one word? Well, the jury, if that prosecution did their job 50% of the way, would convict that person, right?
Okay.
So what a lot of people have done is they have drawn conclusions about this time only from listening to one side of the argument, one channel or multiple channels with similar points of view, direction, and then we wonder why we have such an skewed view of these things. And I'm not saying that you need to go dig into the all the conspiracy theories and all those kind of things
And
yet.
there's plenty on YouTube.
Plenty, but and for me it's like, okay, let's take a look at the results. Let's take a real step back here. Let's see how many deaths there really were. Let's see how many deaths they were last year to other things. Let's make sure that everyone's recording everything as properly as they can. There's so much to be said here. And the other thing is more people probably die from heart disease than they will COVID.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think what's
So,
scary, the scary part of COVID is, it's contagious.
sure.
And so there's like it could be, it could be anywhere. It's not, we have at least some control over heart disease, the life, a big part. How, is it 100%? Like at some point a human body just can't continue, but I think it's scary to, for people to think like you could get this really contagious, deadly disease. But, these data are coming out showing that the mortality rate, I always thought this was weird. The, it's a mathematical formula, mortality rate. You have to know we don't know the denominator. We don't know how many people have been infected. And so it really skews that. And that's scary to think that it's more deadly than it is. I mean, of course, we don't have all the information yet, but you're right. We consume one side from news organizations that have an incentive, a financial incentive to get clicks.
Yeah, like I said, you're on trial for murder, and there's no defense, and you're the jury. You didn't get to hear one side of the defendant. They go, okay, here's why we thought we arrested him. Here's the evidence. Here's the witnesses. Go in that room. Tell me what you think. Oh, you're going to be scared? That guy's definitely a murderer. There's no question. Right, guys? All right, go to jail. Go get the electric chair. Yet, if we're just being more open and honest and really thinking about things, and this is super important, find real evidence of why you feel what you feel. And what I mean by that is that if you have a feeling and you have a thought and you cannot literally backtrack into a very an honest, true evidence, unarguable piece of logic, you're making it up.
In terms of the source of the fear that you're experiencing?
Yes, the fear that you're having, the thought that you're having, you are making it up. And that is okay because that is what makes you human. Yet, if you are not able to feel the feeling and then go into that stage where you're able to find logic, you are being more animal than you are human, which is okay. Yet we must understand that when we're being more animal-like than human, we are trying to survive. We are in more of a fearful state.
Defensive.
That's all I'm saying.
And that's playing defense.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, find the true evidence. Don't say I think or what if. Show me the evidence. And then we could actually build and speak about something. But if this is just the frantic stuff and all that, that's sympathetic behavior. One, you're going to have a real hard time having a discussion with anyone about that if they're stuck in that place, much like you would any animal or fearful person, because they're not really open. Mm-hmm. Right? And they're closed. And that's where a lot of people are. Or you could back it out and say, you could do this for yourself or with other people if they're ready. And yet, if they're not ready to do it, they're just too closed. And this kind of reverts back to like the gym owners that I've spoken to, and even us. Like when people are going on hold or they want to cancel, I'm not trying to convince them to stay with me. They're not in a place to even hear it.
Yeah.
They're not ready to hear the defense. They're not open to getting to turning on a Facebook account. They're not even open to trying the virtual classes before they tell me that they suck. Right? Like all those things, right? All of that stuff. And so if you are in that state of closing, being closed off, you are in a more animal-like state, or I would argue that you are being more of an animal survival-like state, fearful state, than you are a human reasoning, prefrontal cortex, third eye thing. Now, when you take a step out further as being a human, what allows us to be human and our true superpower is that we have reason. We will never run like a jaguar. We will never climb a tree like a monkey. Yet what allows us to be us is our prefrontal cortex.
And our ability to choose which thoughts we have, which is a skill that needs to be developed, right? I'm having scary thoughts. I'm going to choose not to have those. And instead, I'm going to choose positive thoughts and look for opportunities, right? Because our experience is subjective based on our interpretation, right? If you change how it gets filtered through a choice, a conscious choice to do that. Because like some nights, not as much now, but I think sort of towards the beginning, I would be laying in bed like, oh, and then I would stop and be like, you don't have to do this. Why don't you choose not to think those thoughts, and not just not have them, but instead force myself, not really allow myself to choose, right? That sounds better. Yeah. Positive thoughts. And literally I would just say positive words in my mind. I would go to bed repeating to myself, prosperity, prosperity, abundance, until I fell asleep. That's a choice. Yep. What's interesting to consider? What if someone had told you 6 months ago that in 6 months, you're going to be in the middle of a worldwide pandemic? All the world's economies are going to be shut down. Is it as scary when you look around being in the moment as that might sound to you 6 months ago?
Whew, what a great question.
It's not. It's not.
It's not.
Because you know why? Because if someone told you, oh, in 6 months, you can't do anything about that now. So it's scary because you're powerless, completely powerless. But now, in the middle of it, is it as scary as it would have been? And probably not. So then extrapolate that out. So has the future ever been worse than you thought it was going to be, to a point where you suffered such hardships that you couldn't continue to wiggle your way through life trying to find the path forward?
No, this is, if you look at history, these are the times where, there was the Civil War, and then people might forget what comes after the Civil War is the greatest prosperity time in American history. That's what really created what people know as, the railroad industry, connecting of this country, the Industrial Revolution, like all the stuff that people like love America for. People forget that it comes at the expense of a civil war, right? These are the parts of what that is. There was the Great Depression, there was World War II, and then for what many people would argue is this beautiful time to be American. And so, and for me, I as a study of history, this is I've put a lot of time into what's inspiring me creatively right now, and what do I really want to do? Because now you really have a choice. Like you could totally evaluate where your life is right now in 2020 and go, well, where would we want to be in 2030? And I am willing to bet now more than ever, it is easier for you to be that person or
Way
step into that
easier.
identity, because you're holding on to less,
Mm.
because the world is taking it from you. Nature is taking it from you. And when there's less to hold on to, it just allows you to, think about changing your clothes. If you were naked, would it be easier to put a new outfit on? Or if you had 5 layers that you had to take off,
Yeah.
you put it back on. And so for me, this has been such an inspiring time to take a step back and go, okay, who do I want to be in 2030 for real?
Mm.
Who am I trying to be? It goes back to the original question. Who, what, why?
Yeah, you can
Because
read you
now,
you can redefine those for yourself now more than ever.
totally, and really take a look at your life and look at these parts too that uh, I'm willing to bet you have found great times in during this. The people that I imagine that are really up against it the most right now are like the hospital workers and
Oh
nurses.
gosh, I can't even
Like those guys,
imagine.
their experience of this. I hope if there's anything that comes out of this positively from like an overall reform perspective, is that people that are in healthcare and teachers get better treatment, better respect, and better conditions, and even better pay. Because people that are trying to educate their kids are probably not looking at their teacher like it's just some goof trying to why can't you take care of my kid?
Pay the teachers more now. Whenever I have to wear my mask when I go outside, I just think, man, hospital workers, healthcare workers who are working with this, I just can't even imagine what that must be like. Because I go out and walk for 20 minutes with that mask and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to take this thing off. I can't imagine being, dealing with, or, working and trying to help sick people in such a time of stress too. I mean, imagine how stressful it is in a hospital with people who, have gotten this virus or they're dealing with other things. And then
Totally.
they're going to come out
That's
of
the
this
only time.
strong.
Super strong, and or they may not be nurses. A lot of people are probably going to quit the job.
They might shift out. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
and then
did it,
this
done, I wanted something else. Or they're going to be like, I can handle anything.
anything, right? And they should be taken better care of, because they're the real heroes of these periods. These people that have been on the front lines. Like we have some nurses here, and they have families. Could you imagine going to a hospital for a lockdown period and then having to try to get home for your family, hoping that you're not trying to carry anything like that? These are the people that are really going through stuff. If you've been at home just hanging out and pissed off that they haven't released The Last Dance in all 10 episodes
Yeah, what is with
versus
that? 2 a week? Come on.
well, they have to do that because ESPN will go under because they have nothing else to show. So ESPN must string you along, because if they let everyone binge watch the 10, you would have canceled ESPN already, because what would ESPN be able to give you? I totally get the ESPN. We love you, baby. Hang on as best you can. And I'm so glad it was our Chicago Bulls that were able. No other
That's right.
person
That's
could.
right.
No other person could save ESPN like MJ. Like, let's be real here. He did it. He saved the NBA. I mean, like, he's the greatest. If you didn't think Michael Jordan was the greatest NBA player, even LeBron can't save the NBA right now. But guess who is? 2-3, baby. Still doing it. Still doing it 22 years later. Without this Last Dance, who would be watching ESPN?
I get it through Netflix. I mean, I'm guessing they're getting money from Netflix. I don't know what the
Sure,
deal is.
yeah,
But
you know what I mean? Whatever way they're streaming it, yeah.
yeah.
Think about it. ESPN would have nothing to say
Talk about
if
being
there was
prepared, huh?
not The Last Dance. Yeah, because there's no sports. It's such a twisted thing. And so it's just, this is such a beautiful, interesting time to see where this world is and what it's really been running on and running through. And first and foremost, it's a mirror for yourself to make sure that you are doing these right things. For next is looking through the lens of your relationships, and that's super important. If you've been dedicating time to the people that you love, or dedicating enough time to being there for the people that you care about. And then third, looking through your work, and is this what you were really excited about spending 12 hours a day doing? Was being busy and really productive really important for you all the time, that you forwent, or for you thought it was okay to forego taking care of yourself, or forego making time for your relationships? And so that's why I said, like, this is a very big over slow drip psychedelic, where you're able to actually see all these things because the distractions have been taken away from you. And so, I've been so grateful that these are the times that we're living in. And as far as the gym goes, is this stuff, not the most ideal? I don't know. None of us really do. And yet what's really important is that you are evolving, because I posted it the other day. Darwin said it. It's not the strongest, it's not the most intelligent that survives. It's who's the most responsive to change. That's evolution.
It's interesting too. Why do we assume that the world that we were in before this is better than the world that's going to come after it?
Great question.
It's
'Cause it's
because
comfortable.
it's because it's what we knew.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
assume that. I assume that maybe the world that comes out of this will be better because we'll have more compassionate people who have a shift in their overall consciousness of themselves and the world around them, and the effect that we have on each other and on this planet and nature that we are a part of.
Yep.
The food you eat that becomes you is the earth with the energy of the sun, literally through DNA transcribed into the form of a human. Like, we're not
Very
different
all
than that.
interconnected.
Right.
No doubt. This is
Uh,
the launching pad for what I've been calling the mindful renaissance. It's really, this is, not that I'm a religious man, yet I'm a spiritual man. This is what I imagine is what was the point of the Noah's Ark story. This was the flood that had to take place for people to wake up and really understand life and what it's like to be a human being and not a human doing.
yeah. We were born and raised to be human doers.
Yeah. And people are now not able to do, and they don't know how to be. But in reality, we were supposed to be first, and the doing is an extension of you being.
I think that's a great way to close this chat down. Woo!
Seriously though, it's really, this is a call to be and not do, and this is the very base of what many of us, including myself on many levels. I don't want I really hope when people hear this, or if you're watching this, I have had breakdowns. I've had times of going home and sitting in the corner and crying through this, talking to my wife about this, talking to people I care about this. I am not, I hope people realize that I am not walking around here all day like unscathed by this, or have not been really doing this. Yet it is important for me to not run away from my fears, but, and more than anything, is I am not resistant to my fear. And for people that are suffering, it's be more than likely is because you are resistant to your fears, not the fear themselves. Right? I'm not fear resistant. I have a resiliency to my fear, and a quicker response that I could work through it, because that's the practices that I have chosen. Not that I have not felt all those fears. I have an 8-month-old baby boy. Do you think I really want to be on the street? Like, do you really think I want my business to fail? Yet the thing is that I have learned a way where the answer is for me to not live in the fear and think about why I can't. It is more about how can I? And that's through practice and working through things with my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, approaching these things from a place of, okay, well, how can we stay on offense? Well, virtual OCF is a beautiful offering. If you don't think it's a beautiful offering for your gym, well, why don't you start getting to work on it? Because I'm willing to bet when you coached your first class, it really wasn't a beautiful offering anyways. You just thought it was.
Yeah.
Or you got better over time.
Right. It's not going to be anything that's new. It's a refining process. You know what else I bet, knowing you, Angelo, you know that no matter what happens, you're going to do whatever you have to do.
Oh, dude, I'm a gamer.
When you know that you'll do whatever you have to do, fine.
Totally.
You got to be okay with that.
Absolutely. The ego part of me, I'd go get the carts at the grocery store and wipe them up, and make coffee at Starbucks or whatever it took to support my family or whatever I needed to do for the help the gym or anything. I have no qualms about that stuff. And so I know that that's in me, and I'm able to bring that anytime I have to. And so for me, like I said, that idea of really accepting that poison and that fine print is really important, and not believing that you are above the possibility of any of those things happening. And that's why over this time I've been so grateful for even kooky things like that. Like, could you imagine your dad saying that and then basically telling you that, hey, I knew there was a chance that I was going to leave you for 11 years and I still took it. And the boy in me would be like, dude, you are the biggest D in the world. And yet now I look at it as a man and go, man, what a genius way to live your life. And so it's been such a beautiful time for awareness on so many levels. And thank you for having me here, Ryan. I love this. I love these talks. And if there's any gym owners out there that would love support and trust, and this is really important, if you reach out for me for support and love. Love is a kiss, and sometimes love is a slap. And if you come to me and all you want is placating and kisses, that's not all the love that I always offer. Okay.
Yeah.
And for most people, the love that they need right now is they need what I call like a brotherhood love. And this is no offense to women, but if we were in the trenches in World War I and you were having a breakdown in this foxhole, I would have to hand you your rifle and slap you across the face and throw you out of it and say, let's go get this thing. My job wouldn't be there to caress your forehead and kiss you. And that's how I look at a lot of this right now, because this is a very chaotic state that way. And for most of us, we need to be slapped out of our own spell so we could get in the game.
That's right.
And so please, Angelo at o'haracrossfit.com. I prefer the emails over all the Instagram DMs or anything like that. I'm not really on social media that much. And so people could find me there if they need immediate love and support throughout this time. But as I said, expect love to come in the opposite of what you're bringing. So if you come to me and you are overzealous, I may kiss you and slow you down. Yet if you come to me in a frantic, you get the back of my hand and telling you to strap up because it's go time. Because I love you, not because I want to bring you down.
Big difference. Big difference.
Huge, huge. And we must accept that. We must accept that kind of love because that's real love.
Angelo, I love you, brother. Thank you for your
Woo,
time. Thank you for coming on here. I noticed you're at the
my
gym.
pleasure.
I know that's your gym, right? I've been in that room, I believe.
Yeah, this is the office in the gym. Right before you and I got on, I coach the virtual class of the day.
Uh,
So when we do the virtual, I one person coaches and another coach does the workout as well as all helping all the people. And so we have a little studio set up where the gym, was by the board over there where we could do all of our workouts. And I'm in the office at the gym. So this is where I've been coming to work to do the workouts of the day and then hanging out and doing shows and stuff like that. It's been beautiful.
awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and your energy and your insights. Thank you for coming on.
Well, with great pleasure. I love you very much, Ryan DeBell. You are my brother to the end, my friend.